So this comes from Brandon Smith, one of the most, I would say, intellectually sound people out there. I don't agree with nearly everything that he says. I mean, he posts some things that are just way out there as far as, you know, reality. But that's about what 3%, maybe 5% of what he posts. The other 95% or more is absolutely positively spot on. And it's a shame that his website alt-market.us doesn't get more traffic than the vast majority of these conservative and even alternative media sites that don't do nearly as much awesome content as he does. His is really really strong. But today we're talking about something that I've talked about quite a bit. Nobody else seems to talk about it. That's the part that gets to me is that I can't get any. I mean, I've even mentioned it to other show hosts saying, hey, you should really check out the Council for Inclusive Capitalism. We've all heard of the WEF, the World Economic Forum. We've all heard of the World Health Organization and the United Nations and all these various globalist entities, the open societies. We have George Soros, and we've all heard of Klaus Schwab. But it's strange that nobody talks about the Council for Inclusive Capitalism, which to me is the tip of the spear for the globalist elite cabal. Think of it, if the World Economic Forum, if they're sort of like the think tank slash recruiting arm for the globalists, right? They have their big conference in Davos. They get all the bad guys together, as many people as they can. They try to convert people into bad guys. They bring in, semi good guys, or at least malleable good guys, and try to bring them over to the dark side. They push climate change. They push AI. They push transhumanism and transgenderism and everything else. Okay, that's their big push. But for the most part, they're a think tank. Okay, for the most part, their goal is to recruit, and as Klaus Schwab has said, to infiltrate governments. He injects people into there, and they're pushing for control. But the Council for Inclusive Capitalism, they're the tip of the spear. They're the ones that actually get stuff done. And the sad part is that they do it in the guise of being sort of like a more of a think tank, but they don't. This is the action arm of the globalist elite cabal. And that's why it shocks me that so few in our industry, so few in alternative media, conservative media, fringe media, whatever you want to call it, nobody's talking about it. I've written many articles and done several shows about him. Brandon Smith has as well, and it's funny. I actually end up posting these articles. I'll post this article, I'm sure, over at discernreport.com. But uh, outside of him and maybe a couple of others that I don't know, nobody's talking about these guys, and you need to. And I'll start right off the bat. This should catch your attention with the very first word in the article: Rothschild. Rothschild. That's, hey, conspiracy theory, tinfoil hats should already be getting put on right now. Title of the article is Rothschild Wants Merger Between Corporations, Governments, and AI to quote unquote save capitalism. And of course, they want to kill capitalism and replace it with shareholder capitalism, inclusive capitalism, which is not capitalism, it's Marxism that's hidden under the guise of capitalism. So pay attention to the show today, folks. This is really good stuff. Good as in we need to know the information, not good as in, hey, hooray, they're trying to kill us all. All right. According to the article, if you're not familiar with a little organization called the Council for Inclusive Capitalism, don't worry, most people have never heard of it. The group was formed at the height of the COVID pandemic, which is technically not true. They were started in 2017, but they rose in prominence during COVID. So I get the point there. As fear instilled by government officials and the media propagated the news feeds, the majority of the public was rather distracted. The CIC is essentially everything that conspiracy theorists have been warning about for years, packaged into a single Orwellian entity, complete with dramatic piano music and a mask of humanitarian philanthropy. Oh, that is so true. I'm going to play at least part of this video. This is actually from the Council for Inclusive Capitalism. And before I play that, it's important to note, these guys, whereas the World Economic Forum, they've come out of the shadows in recent years. They were kind of sort of hidden, but really since the Obama years, they've injected themselves more into conversations. They've really tried to establish a greater foothold than just operating from the shadows. They've come out and flat out said, you will eat the bugs. They've come out and flat out said, you will not drive the cars. We will kill the cows. I mean, they've talked about their depopulation and control agenda openly. Whereas And this should raise your alarm bells. Whereas the Council for Inclusive Capitalism has not. They've gone so far as to have their Wikipedia pages removed. There is no mention of the Council for Inclusive Capitalism in Wikipedia, despite the fact that the names behind them, which do include, led by Rothschild, they're funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. They work directly with the Vatican. This is not a little organization. So let's go ahead and play this video.
È necessario e urgente un sistema economico giusto, affidabile e in grado di rispondere alle sfide più radicali che l'umanità e il pianeta si trovano ad affrontare.
We are answering Pope Francis's challenge to create more inclusive economies that spread the benefits of capitalism more equitably and allow individuals to realize their full potential.
A majority of people around the world say that they think their families will be worse off in 5 years. That's a scenario that we simply can't accept.
Too much wealth has accreted to too few people.
If you make money, what's the point if you're not prepared to share it? If the people who help make that wealth for you can't live with dignity?
It's inclusive capitalism, though, and we have to recognize that starting from where we are to where we need to get to, we need to bring everyone along, and there will be adjustments that come with that.
We do need the private sector's ingenuity, capital, technology, people, everything, their passion to come to the party.
We want to operate in a sustainable way, where incentives are aligned across generations, not just across quarters, and the main actors take a long-term perspective.
Aligning our innovation with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the priorities of inclusive capitalism is both a business and sustainability imperative.
Two reasons, I think, why I'd say concrete commitments to inclusive capitalism matter. I mean, the first, and not to be underestimated, really important, is they can inspire other people. And the second thing that I would say around concrete public commitments is they can help build trust.
Leaders in the business community can be a unifying force. They can be a source of opportunity. They can be a source of understanding. So we as business leaders can step up and solve many of these economic problems.
I think business plays a very important role in resolving these challenges. I think businesses have to become part of the solution through leadership by example and through leadership by incentives.
We are stewards of this earth. It's our duty to keep it clean and to keep it decent for future generations.
I'm wanting to embark on this journey to provide the guidance and the assistance of the church's own social thought and whatever other consideration might be necessary, whether ethical or just social guidance, so that this group that has taking up such a noble task of making capitalism work for the good of humanity, achieve its goal, and land on target. So this is our vision, this is our purpose.
Look, the fact that different religions need to come together on all matters is just the crying need of the times in our world. Faith cannot be used to pull us apart. Faith is meant to bring us together. And the fact that I'm a Sikh and somebody else is a different religion, to me, doesn't matter.
Our work is indeed about social justice, which is rooted in the gospel. The idea that every person deserves to live in a just society.
Capitalism is at the heart of innovation that creates higher standard of living. And we know that it's been working. Yet we also know we can do a lot better.
We need a new system focused on the well-being of people. It's a big challenge, but if it is done right, the benefits will be immense.
it's not just an asset owner, it's not just an asset manager, it's not just a CEO, it's not just these boards of directors. We have to work collectively over the long term.
What I think capitalism has to stand for to be inclusive capitalism, how we help everybody have equal access to the opportunity, have the economic mobility.
The council is a terrific body in which we can assemble a critical mass of companies to join and commit to concrete actions that not only affect and improve the communities in which we live, but affect the world community of which we're all a part of.
We believe we need more than 1,000 organizations on board, and only with this very purposeful collective action, we will see the systemic change across markets that will make capitalism truly inclusive.
We invite all businesses, large and small, and individuals to join us as stewards for inclusive capitalism by going to our website, agreeing the principles, and making your own commitments to inclusive capitalism. Please join us. Thank you.
Wow. If you hadn't seen that before, and I've seen it now 3 or 4 times over the last 3 years, if you hadn't seen that before, hopefully that will wake you up. If you are versed or educated at all in the language utilized by the globalist elite cabal, then again, this should be absolutely, positively eye-opening. Okay. You notice, obviously, they start with what is the Rothschild lady? I forgot her first name. Something Lynn. I always forget her first name. Anybody with 4 names, I just don't have the memory to be able to remember four names on a person. But anyway, starts off with her and the Pope. The Pope. And sometimes people say, "Oh, you rip on the Pope a lot. Are you anti-Catholic?" I'm not anti-Catholic at all. I don't think that Pope Francis represents the Catholic Church properly. At least the maybe he represents the Church, but he doesn't represent Catholics. His woke ideology is definitely not what you would expect from the leader of the Catholic Church. And they brought in other members of other religions, always talking about how religion shouldn't get in the way of this. Inclusiveness. It's all about inclusiveness. Hopefully you noticed there were some of the other standard financial, economic bad guys in there. The CEO of State Street. This type of language, this type of manipulation, talking about the environment, talking about exclusivity, talking about stakeholder capitalism without actually mentioning the word stakeholder capitalism. This is them. Okay? If you don't like the World Economic Forum, great. These guys are the bigger threat. Let's get back to the article. The basic root function of the council is to centralize most or all major corporations. Okay. The corporations with global influence, and join them with governments into a network that places ideology over profit motive. Some people might argue that corporations need to adopt a shared value system instead of simply roaming around like sharks devouring whatever they can sink their teeth into. But who gets to choose the set of values that corporate behemoths follow? As I've talked about many times, this is their push is to establish ubiquitous public-private partnerships. They want every industry and every government and the leaders in both to be consolidated and focusing on problems. Just as an example, when we're talking about energy is going to be operated by the oil companies. You might say, "Oh, how could that possibly be?" The oil companies, they're the enemy. You got the weirdos gluing themselves to streets from Stop Oil. So why would the oil companies have already been pegged by the globalist elite cabal to be the ones that usher in the next chapter, usher in the green agenda, the climate change hoax agenda. So of course they're going to be included. Of course they're going to be tied in with government through public-private partnerships, and they will be the ones making the decisions about inclusivity when it comes to energy. About saying, hey, yeah, we might be the big oil company, but even we're willing to say that we can't have any more gas cars on the road after 2030 or 2035 or 2040 or whatever it is, whatever they set their goals to. They're going to be the leaders, and this is it kind of it tickles our the contradiction aspect, contradiction recognition in our brains to think that big oil is going to lead the charge against oil, but that's exactly what's happening. It's not going to happen. It's in the process of happening right now, and I covered that a couple of days ago. Let's go back to the article. The CIC is a physical body representing the action arm of the ESG concept. ESG, of course, coming from everybody from BlackRock and Vanguard to the World Economic Forum, and again, all the globalist elite cabal. Environment, social governance. Those three are the keys to their control. In this control and depopulation agenda that the globalist elite cabal is engaged in, that's the key to it. In the CIC, as Brandon Smith notes, is the physical body representing the action arm. If you've got the World Economic Forum as the think tank and recruitment arm, if you've got BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and the central banks as the economic arm, the funding, the control of corporations, if you have the Biden-Harris regime and the United Nations and all of the various radical leftists controlling countries across the world, handling the governance arm, all this comes together through ESG. And this is how we get to all the bad things that we've been talking about for years and decades. This is how before 2030 their hope is to have a one world government, a one world economy. And as they noted, without specifically saying one world religion, they made the pitch in that video for a one world religion. Back to the article. The CIC is action arm. It is meant to create incentives and punishments for the business world based on their compliance with the values of globalism and woke socialism, as well as their submission to the climate agenda. I have written about this issue extensively, but my article, What is the Council for Inclusive Capitalism? It's the New World Order, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes, is probably the best overview of the group and their intentions, and it is great. And I did republish that over on my sites as well, with permission, of course. The idea is simple. Bring the majority of corporations into line with the far-left political order. Once this is done, they will force those companies to use their platforms and public exposure to indoctrinate the masses, which is already in process. We've seen this strategy in action over the past several years. Okay, good. Agreed. With many companies producing a steady stream of products, media content, and marketing rife with diversity, equity, and inclusion propaganda, not to mention anti-West and anti-conservative propaganda. These corporations have been so ingrained into the DEI and ESG format that many of them are willing to alienate the majority of their customers and lose vast profits. Bud Light, Target, we've seen it over and over again, and it continues. They don't back off. They double down in many cases. Now, Bud Light, they got hit so hard, and it's a little bit ridiculous. I get it. They became the symbolic representation of patriotic Americans pushing back against the wokeness, and so they got hit maybe 10 times as hard as they maybe should have. I'm not saying that they deserve to not be hit. I'm saying that we put so much effort into boycotting Bud Light that others who maybe were doing worse things than just putting a transgender dude on their can, these other companies sort of got a little bit of a pass, and that hopefully we can change that by exposing them and by getting more people, such as you, to start boycotting. Don't go to Target. It's that simple. Target is promoting. They're not just promoting. They are trying to force feed an LGBTQIA plus supremacy agenda onto everybody, especially youth. Don't go there. But anyway, I digress. Why would companies choose to join with such an organization? If they're going to be constantly micromanaged in their operations. It may not be presented to them as a choice, but rather an inevitable requirement. And he says it may, and he actually said it might, but he meant it may. It definitely is. Okay, these guys are strong-armed. That's all there is to it. And this is why Elon Musk is such a threat to them, possibly. Now, I've said many times before, I do not trust Elon Musk. I like Elon Musk, okay? I really do, but I don't trust him. Not fully. I think that he might be the the plant. He might be the globalist shill. Their last, their ringer. There we go. He's the ringer. He's the one that after, he's going to fight, and then he's going to turn around and try to herd conservatives into the globalist mentality without many even noticing it. That's possible. Okay. Every day it gets I get a little bit more comfortable with him. Of course, this week he went off and told a bunch of CEOs, including Disney, and basically said, go F yourself to all of them. If they want to try to bully him, if they want to try to blackmail him with advertising dollars, blackmail him with money, go F. He flat out told him, go F yourself. And it was shocking to the people there, but it's endearing to people like us. I went ahead. I started advertising on Twitter. I haven't advertised on Twitter for any of my companies since like 2012 or something like that. It's been a long time. But yeah, I started advertising on Twitter yesterday after seeing that. So I'm not saying, oh, you got to go out and support this huge billionaire or else we're going to die. I'm just saying, hey, look, I appreciated him. And so there we go. Oh, Elon Musk. But anyway, point is that's why he is so, they don't like him. Either they love him and he's a shill, or they're terrified by him because he can't be controlled. He is ungovernable by the ones that want to govern us. And he's hopefully going to help other people become ungovernable as well. And they don't want that. So I'll just say it. If anything happens to Elon Musk, whatever they say the official story is, that's not the case. I don't care if it's suicide, plane crash, rhinoceros getting loose on his grounds. I don't know. None of it's real. He's not. Anyway. Well, God forbid. I wish I hadn't even put that out there as words. But anyway, why would companies choose to join? Inevitable requirements. Those who get in on the ground floor get the best seats at the cabal's table. Those who join late might be crushed under the weight of an oppressive socialist bureaucracy. Then again, the choice could also be voluntary, with the promise that corporate leaders will be given extensive governance roles after the great reset of capitalism, which the World Economic Forum discusses so often. Keep in mind that the only way such companies would be able to survive after being shunned by the majority of the public is if they join with governments, are handed a state-sponsored monopoly, and are supported by perpetual subsidies. They might even be operating under the assumption that as long as they continue to serve the woke religion, they will eventually be rewarded with the too woke to fail status. Mussolini once defined the meeting of corporate power with government power as the original design for fascism. The Council for Inclusive Capitalism is the living, breathing expression of that authoritarian seed. And this article goes on. It's not too long. It's a little long, but it's not too long. You can check it out, of course, Brandon's site, alt-market.us, and you can search for it there. I'll have it on my sites. You can just go to discern.tv/CIC if you want to read it there, as well as catch the replay of this video. I'll put that on there as well. But yeah, crazy stuff. Council for Inclusive Capitalism. Pay attention to them. Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Vatican, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, central banks, woke governments. They're all in on it. They're all part of this. So don't just put all your anger towards the World Economic Forum or the World Health Organization. These guys are the ones they don't want you to know about. This is why, again, they had their Wikipedia page taken down. They don't want to be known. You might say, oh, but at the end, she said, go to our website and check out our values and sign up and yada, yada, yada. It's not that they don't want to be public. They just don't want to be researched. They want to stay in the shadows. Okay, the World Economic Forum has been around since the 70s. When did you first hear about them? They decided to come out of the shadows, be more public about their stuff way back in, if you weren't watching Alex Jones, I would say the chances are, I say Alex Jones is a general term for conspiracy theorists, starting back around the year 2000, or even earlier than that. But if you weren't listening to Alex Jones or people like him before, chances are you hadn't heard of the World Economic Forum, or at least understood who they were until recent years. Be honest. I mean, they have hit the public sphere extensively just in recent years. Council for Inclusive Capitalism is the exact opposite. Right now, they're staying behind the scenes. but they still control a vast amount of property. They still control a vast amount of, what's the word for it, influence. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. They still influence so much, and to ignore them would be a humongous mistake. You know, censorship has really taken a hit on us. We have been very challenged by companies like YouTube, places where we are not allowed to talk about the things that we talk about. I strongly encourage you, if you're watching this video, right now, I would say the best place to be able to follow us. We're on Brighteon, BitChute. For some reason, we're still on Apple Podcasts, waiting for that ban hammer to come down. But the best way to follow this show, to make sure that you get all of the updates, all of the new videos that pop up, all the live shows that we do, is to go to jdrucker.com/rumble. jdrucker.com/rumble. That will take you to my exclusive Rumble channel, where only it's just the stuff that I put up. So it's not mixed in with any other place. You can find my videos over at discern.tv and places like that. But for now, at least, until, God forbid they go to the dark side, but at least for now, Rumble is doing a very good job of keeping us informed and keeping us on the air. So jdrucker.com/rumble, and that'll take you to my Rumble channel where you can subscribe and get to hear more of this stuff. So God bless you.